Hello, everyone, and welcome to Attack of Opportunity. Our behind-the-scenes look, yes, I know lately we have been plugging our second edition Pathfinder playtest, and we say Attack of Opportunity is also for one-shots. But getting back to interviewing content creators that have helped us, that are friends of the pod, not just our cast, but people that we watch. Who does the cast look at? What do we look at in our spare time? Or who have we met along the way, traded advice with, traded content with? You know, this time we have a real hands across the water scenario in Eastern Europe, in a country called Serbia.
Serbia.
The suburbs is where we play D&D, and Serbia is where you will find Mr. Crafty from YouTube channels, Crafty Tabletop Stories on Twitter, on Facebook. Mr. Petrek Filipovic, could you say your name for us, sir?
I'm sorry. This is the third call from my mom. Can we just? I think it's something. It's something important.
Okay.
I'm sorry about this.
No.
Alo,
put her
mama.
on.
Ne, nisam zvao. Ne, odbijam ti poziv, zoveš me treći put. Mislio sam da je Bog zna šta jebote. Usred sam intervjua. Da, ajde, ciao.
Did you want to rebook?
What?
Did you need to deal with family business? Family comes first. Did you want to rebook?
No. It's okay. Fine. It's fine.
That was great. Can I please leave that in? Call from your mom is like, we were gaming Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and at the very end of our first episode, the pizza guy showed up. And we just left the tape rolling, and we just all jump up and start talking. And he's like, and he comes into my living room, and he's looking at all the microphones, and he's like, "What is this?" And we're like, "Oh, you're on a podcast, buddy." And it fades out, but we left it in. And we actually did have phone calls from the wife and phone calls from mom. So, yeah, a phone call from your darling mother. And what language were you speaking?
Yeah, the Serbian language.
The Serbian language. And is that akin to, is that like a Slavic language?
Yeah, it's a Slavic language. It's pretty much similar to all the languages of the Slavic Eastern Europe. So Croatian, Montenegrin, Bosnian, similar, all of them.
That's awesome. I'm a big fan of using the different racial languages instead of just common in any game. And I love the fact that I'm talking to an international gamer. Today we get to pick the brain of a content creator to show you that. Because one thing we always ask our guests is like, oh, what do you do for a living? And they say, well, I do this, right? But it's like a different mindset, a different country. Is it them over the fence? No, this guy is a gamer. End of story. Just like us. Check him out on YouTube. He puts up content. He talks about his experiences. He talks about advice, good advice, and bringing us back to what Crafty really does. Actually creates trinkets, miniatures. I mean, what's the top of your line here, Crafty?
Well, it's mostly custom dice and dice boxes, but I have been doing some miniatures as well, but I didn't quite like the process. It takes too long, and if I was to do that, I would most probably go for at least 5 miniatures at a time, so I can do one, bake it, second, bake it, third, bake it.
I'll make you a deal. Like, I'm a Doctor Who fan from back in the day, but my cast member and now son-in-law, Jay Tamlin, is a huge Doctor Who fan. If you send us one of those TARDIS dice boxes that I can give him, not only will I put you in every podcast he's in and he'll just adore you and keep you alive. You'll be immortal in any podcast you play with us, because I know Jay Tamlin will keep you alive just for one little dice box that you nailed us.
All right.
Consider it. We can't afford the euro price here. We have no budget. So, but let's start over, shall we? This has kind of got off the rails, right? But that's it's a loose conversation.
Yeah, of course.
We're just chatting across the water. When did you know? Because this is the question we ask all guests on Attack of Opportunity. When did you first know that you were a geek, a gamer, a nerd, a fantasy, sci-fi, superhero, spy, horror, all that conglomeration going, this is for me, one of us. Was there a defining moment for you?
All right. I think that it actually started at a very young age, because my mother used to, my mother used to feed me Greek mythology when I was a kid, also Grimm fairy tales and things like that. And finally, I ended up reading some sci-fi and epic fantasy myself. Hobbit was one of the books. Ursula Le Guin, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Yeah, some other authors as well. I also read when the first Game of Thrones came out. I read that as well. I think that it all started actually when I was something like 4 or 5, when I realized what the language is. And my mother used to put me to sleep with this Greek mythology.
Well, that's an interesting point. Is there like a translation of The Hobbit into like the Slavic languages and stuff? Like a lot of people forget that. Sorry.
This one's on you.
No, this is the wife.
All right.
This is the wife. Sorry.
Not a problem.
Is there a translation to all this lore? Because here in North America, I'm in Canada and the US, we have this preconceived notion because we are so Hollywood and we put all this stuff out that all fantasy and stuff came from us. But Greek mythology came from Greece. The British and that side of my family, they love all this lore. They're huge into Star Wars. They're huge into, fantasy and lore and stuff. They have their own cons. They have their own circles that they run in, completely different from the US market that we over here in North America and Canadian market are exposed to. So these classics that you rambled up, the Hobbit and these authors, are they all North American authors that have been converted, or is there some real homebrew Serbia, authors, fantasy novels and stuff that you could only get there and maybe it gets shipped over here that got you going as well?
Oh, there are some Serbian authors. Actually, Serbia had a very, very big literature market, or how to put it otherwise.
Yeah, literal novelization of all.
Yeah, a lot of writers anyways. And some of them were fantasy, but it didn't live to the expectations, of a young reader. Fantasy and sci-fi was a little bit dull as of the past at least 20 years in Serbia. And it finally started coming up again somewhere from the pits of the abyss. And right now we're having some really, really good writers, novelists, fiction, flash fiction writers, short story writers. And I actually just recently started reading again because finally some new authors ended up being on the surface, and it really helped me get back into reading. I think that the last book before this one, not this one, these few that I read recently, I think that it was Harry Potter, the first book, which was, I don't know how many years ago, 14, 15?
Early 90s.
16? I don't know. Yeah, or whatever. I remember that my brother got Game of Thrones for his birthday. I think it was his 12th birthday.
Are we talking English copies or like converted to Slavic?
Converted to Serbian.
Oh.
Converted to Serbian. Yeah, everything is pretty much translated. We do not lack, translations. We lack authors.
No, I thought maybe you'd say that was your key to learning the English language. Is they always make those jokes about I learned this language by watching this type of television show, and that that we learned English through TV or something like that. But you were handed fantasy in your own language. When did you start making the transition to just, I could read this in English, or do you?
Oh, actually, I started speaking English when I was 3 because I was exposed to some networks from UK and US, and that's how I basically learned how to speak it. And of course, a big thing were these internet cafes back in the 90s. And in the internet cafes, there were a lot of foreign people from all over the world, just using the internet to connect to their families. And I met a lot of people, English-speaking people, and that's where I got the courage to start speaking it, like as if it was my own language.
No, we lost him. We lost him, ladies and gentlemen. Internet over in Serbia isn't that great.
Jeff down.
What do we got to do?
Oh.
I can't work under these conditions.
This one's on his end as well.
Let's try again. Cue the music again. Here we go. Restart the intro music. Try this again. I can't work under these conditions. All right. Okay. That was only a short gap. I can edit that, but I might leave that in. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. Definitely. Where do you want me to start?
No, you had finished. You had talked about the internet cafe, and then you said, "Oh, you finished your sentence." Said, "Oh, you're frozen," and then I lost you. So no, I think we're good for the next. So I feel like I'm pushing my own interest in the D&D languages. Let's speak Elven, let's speak Dwarven, and then like sort of projecting it onto you, going, "Oh, this guy speaks more than just English," and give us a peek into that. Just one last point is the countries, like you are neighboring to Italy, Romania, Greece, are all in the neighborhood type of thing. You're talking about like all the international people all cram over here. We're sort of isolated way across the ocean. North America is a melting pot of culture, which we proudly embrace, but it's been my experience, at least, it's not so much where people, if someone speaks a foreign language, they just ignore them. Unless somebody comes to you and speaks English, or, like a tourist or something, there isn't that sort of, oh, I should really learn a second language, because English is drilled into us. Now, Canada is a bilingual country, but again, my experience is if you're outside of Quebec where they speak French or French Canadian, then we were taught in school and then you just put it down. I'm almost envious of that growing up anywhere in Europe where it's in your face. You are surrounded by these countries, and if you want to interact, then you need to pick up a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of the other, that kind of thing. And when we game here in North America, everyone speaks Common. And DM starts forcing, well, they speak in Elven, maybe who speaks Elven, and even the party members. Can we all just speak Common? And I'm wondering if that's a byproduct of just being in North America. So my next question for you is, when you're gaming, not the real life languages, but when your character is Elven, Dwarven, that type of thing, do you use the languages more, or does everyone just get into that? Oh, you're all speaking this one language. Make sure everybody takes that one language and go.
Oh, actually. Well, depends, because usually we just change accents a little bit to sound more Elven or more Dwarven, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. We bastardize real world accents. Like over here, the go-to Dwarven is Scottish or maybe Irish, or for myself, I even like doing a little bit of like sort of a Russian Jew, as it were, for a dwarf, that kind of thing. And elves, it's not that they have an accent, is they change their manner of speaking. Elves speak a little bit more haughty or whatever, but that's some of the fun. Now, these days, everyone's so touchy about stereotypes. Oh, you're insulting this culture. Oh, don't use that. It's like, no, it's not the intent here. The intent is not to have every NPC that I play or have every character that you play just sound like a regular human that's over there in the village.
Yeah.
You may look different, but it's also good to maybe, and fantastic when players bring accents or mannerisms or little things to the table. And I'm just curious, like you said, it sounds like you guys do the same thing over there.
Yeah.
Flavor. We're just talking about flavor.
Yeah, it's basic flavor. We change mannerisms and we change accents. One time I played a half-elf from a supposed Italian family. And I started speaking I started mixing in Italian with Serbian, the very little words that I know in Italian. I just started putting them wherever I could,
No,
So
that's great. My go-to podcast, I love plugging these guys. It really shouldn't. My technical advisor keeps giving me trouble, but I love the Glass Cannon podcast. There's no secret that I'm a huge Cannonite, as they say. And recently, one of their cast members, Joe O'Brien, has made up a new character called Forebears. And this is a barbaric culture, and they have sort of a North American Indian vibe that he's gone with. And he's changed not only his speech pattern when he speaks Common to them with an accent and the mannerism in which he speaks, he'll throw in actual, what I believe is North American Indian origin words. And he'll start this sentence and run. And it's almost like the movie where you see the guys, they start off in subtitles and they're speaking the language and they flip it to English going, look, they're still speaking their own language. But, since this dialogue's going to run 20 minutes, they flip it to English and it's like a seamless blend. And Joe O'Brien from the Glass Cannon podcast does it effortlessly. And when I heard that, I was like, yes, 20 years and this guy gets it. Why don't my players ever get it? That's what I'm trying to go for. That's what these guys are trying to do. And it sounds like you're doing the same thing. You just kind of blend it in, you give it flavor. No offense meant to any other culture. You're just giving your character a different angle, new life.
Yeah, definitely.
Now we're talking about podcasts. You are actually not a podcaster. You're a content creator and you have a YouTube channel where I've noticed you've talked about your gaming experiences and you give a little advice about topics that can cause friction in a game. being the good player series and, handling certain things that happen at your table. There are a lot of YouTube content creators that do that, but that's not your mainstay. Tell us about your actual, like, Crafty Tabletop Stories is a brand, but your dice box, your actually homemade dice kind of bit. How did that come about?
Well, I was always a crafty person. I used to love doing woodworks with my father. My grandfather, my father's father, was actually a carpenter. So I think that I got that gene from him. And my other grandfather, he worked as chief of constructions. So he was basically a construction worker, just architectural constructions and things like that. And I think that I kind of implemented all of that craftiness into one thing. And I like doing really meticulous work, really precise stuff. So the smaller thing you give me, the better it's gonna look. I don't like building big things. I like building small things, designing small things, and that's pretty much it.
So you're like a shoe-in for what they call on a camera lens, the macro scale, like miniature painting, fine detail, brushes that have one tiny little hair sticking out of it. That's your go-to?
Yeah, that's what I like doing, But usually it's more about the crafts than the painting itself. So and as for the rest, I mean, as I said in the beginning, I do some custom dice and custom dice boxes, and that's my main go-to. Also some rolling trays. I don't know, I'm thinking of expanding, to spell books, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Whatever, really. But the point is dice and dice boxes, because everyone's a dice maniac. I haven't yet met a person who doesn't love their dice. So that's pretty much what I go for. Yep.
Specifically bought official Pathfinder dice, one for Mummy's Mask and one for War for the Crown for Up and Cup pods, and I won't even open them until like the first dice roll in that game. Do you make dice towers? Like, you talk about dice boxes and holders, but do you actually make the dice rolling tower where you drop the dice in the top and it pops out the bottom?
I haven't made one yet.
Haven't made these?
No.
I wanted one because my desk is cluttered with not just DMing stuff, but the tech to run a pod. And I had went online and I found, for the plastic that's slapped together, $30, $50. I thought, well, that's kind of a ripoff. And I found this one. It's a really hard sort of woodish cardboard from warworldgaming.com. And it was like $14 Canadian, which around the world, American, euro is going to be that much cheaper. And it works just fine. It just function over, fashion. You can get these epic tower looking ones that, show off at the table. But because we're a podcast, we're audio, no one needs to see my tower. It works. And you could make a killing. Like I said, if you could just bring down the price or make something simple that's function over fashion, I tell you, you make a killing. You could be, I don't know, you could be our sponsor. And instead of me getting shit from Matt and Connor, my technical advisors and internet advisors about like plugging something that has no connection with us, you send us swag, man, and we will sing your praises to the heavens. But I digress. Kind of teasing a little bit, trying to get free stuff.
You'll get something.
A website, a brand name, something beyond YouTube. Do you actually have like a go-to online store where someone can contact you and say, hey, do you do custom work? I would like this design done. Or do you have like the TARDIS dice boxes? I love this. You love this thing. It just kind of pops open like a tall cookie jar and voila, dice inside. Looks awesome. I love that piece of work. We've got it plastered on our Facebook showing you off your stuff.
Thanks about that. The thing with advertising is that I do it mainly on Instagram and Twitter. And the thing is that I am yet to open up an Etsy store, but I need to have like 10 items showing in the, how do you call that? Showroom, showcase.
Yeah, no, I understand. So, but you are, people can contact you for your work. You're showing it on Facebook. You're on Instagram. You're on Twitter. And if someone is interested and sees your stuff, they can contact you, and you're good to go.
Definitely.
With negotiating a price and giving them a time frame. Going, well, this, a lot of artist commissions that we talk to are sort of that sort of one-on-one. Before they get big in a brand and they're backed up so much that you got to wait months or a year. but you are basically what I'm saying is you are up and running.
Yeah, I am up and running.
You
Sometimes I don't take commissions because I get too cramped up in work and commissions. But yeah, lately I think that I'm able to do some, I guess.
And that's at Crafty Tabletop Stories on Twitter and at Crafty Tabletop Stories on Instagram as well. Is that right?
Instagram and Facebook is at Crafty Tabletop Stories, but Twitter, because it's you need to have a short name, it's just Crafty Tabletop. So
Crafty Tabletop.
Yeah, so you'll find me like that. No worries.
Well, definitely want to become one of your first clients, not just because we're chummy and all, and you're branded a friend of the podcast and taking the time. Thank you so much to be here to be interviewed today, with a possible, I don't know, friend of the podcast discount coming my way, hopefully. So you have your YouTube channel, you have that one-on-one Instagram, you get your crafts going or whatever. What made you want to expand your content, just besides just going, hey, this is me? Because I've seen a lot of content creators that just talk about their crap. This is my stuff. I make my stuff. Here you go. And they have a personal online Twitter account talking to people. But you've started a YouTube channel, and not just drawing attention to your crafts. You actually engage an audience going, hey, these are my experiences. This is what I'm doing. You shoot a video. I absolutely love your promo intro, which you made yourself. And you've actually started taking commissions, I've noticed, for like 10, 7-second promos, like a video intro for other people, for brands or whatever. So what got you doing your own channel? And then again, you just tagged the craft on it. What got all that started?
Well, I'm a media engineer by trade. That was my bachelor's degree. Right now, I'm...
Can I have that in English, please? I'm sorry. A media engineer?
Media engineer.
So you construct media? You're like a website programmer or design?
No,
I really should know what this means. But
basically, an all-around producer. So, producer of audio, video, animations, photography, and things like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's what we did on the university, and my main topic was video content. I finished my bachelor's degree with how to make how do you call that thing in English? Like a production for.
So, like, if you're in university, you got to write a thesis going, this is my thesis on my subject. It's like your artistic content project is completed. And it would be your main project to get a grade and put it up there to show the world that you've learned taking the course. How long does the course take you? How many years were you doing that?
Well, it was 4 years of bachelor's studies. Okay. And I had another year of master studies, which I haven't finished yet. I took masters in marketing. But also I focus myself on video content. Right now I'm doing my master thesis on video campaigns. So basically marketing campaigns based on video content.
So you basically started these projects in school and then just kept them going for yourself?
No. Actually the project was, let's say, a work of love. Yeah, and basically it all started like this. I used to have a company last year. We were doing some coaching, to keep it simple. So we coaching people about make their climate, company climate better and things like that. Also human resources and basically all around business coaching. But the company did not go well, and it took a lot of money, a lot of effort, and it did not pay off finally. So I decided that I'm gonna do something that I really love. The only thing that kept me pretty much sane were tabletop RPGs. I was playing once or twice a week with my friends. We had this very cool Rise of the Rune Lords campaign that we played, Pathfinder campaign. And basically that's what kept me going through that tough period. And eventually the YouTube channel was a little thank you to the role-playing games.
Giving back. Pathfinder,
Yeah.
you say? One of us. I told you it was one of us.
Yeah.
Now, we actually have, just happened to happen, it's a shameless plug-in, is we have several dungeon masters, or game masters as they have to be called in the expansions like Pathfinder. We're running a Rise of the Rune Lords campaign actual play podcast called Clinton's Core Classics, and we have Clinton Shard. And in that, I'm actually a player, as well as running, teching, and producing alongside him. Sadly, I'm only in the first season. It was a lot of fun working with those guys, and they've continued on with me editing the show and co-producing the show. And Rise of the Rune Lords is the one that, if you say Pathfinder, they know Rise of the Rune Lords. It is the one that everyone loves, that everyone did, and even though it's very, very old, this is why we said we're going to do this. And apparently, it got people through rough times. Look at Crafty here, got him through school.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pathfinder, and he's giving back by putting up a YouTube channel and talking about his experiences. You can find him on YouTube under Crafty Tabletop Games. If you want to contact him about maybe him doing some crafty for you little buggers,
Yeah.
you can find him on Twitter. You can find him on Instagram, and we're hoping to see you grow your brand, and that you remain a friend of the podcast so that we can get all kinds of cool swag.
Yeah, the deal with the brand, because I'm a marketing guy myself. I grew it as much as I wanted it to grow. Right now, I have expanded my brand to Twitter as well. So I've earned something like 1,500 followers in a month and a half or so, it paid off. It paid off. I already got a few commissions from Twitter as well as Instagram. So the brand itself is growing, and I want to grow it even more. And that's why I'm doing these Good DM series. It's basically I'm interviewing people, such as you're doing right now, about their DMing style, pretty much. So how do you suppose to... no, not how do you suppose to... why do you think makes you a good DM, and what are the advice that you would give to another DM? So that's the basic premise of the series, and I have also recorded a lot of video material for RPG scenery, which is pretty much scenery enhanced to look fairy tale like, and with all the sounds recorded and everything. But the thing is that I still don't have a strong enough computer to render that. The first render that I did took me more than 5 days, and it ended up lacking some of the audio. So it was hard, and I decided just to ditch it for the time being until I get myself some proper equipment so I can do it.
Oh, good. Well, if you ever need a guest, I am trying to gear myself up to be video guest friendly, as you can see here. I'm just scrolling.
Yeah. Actually,
shameless
I
plug.
would like to have you on the show, and we should talk about that some other time.
Yeah, off the air.
Off the air.
I should really approach this not recording. But thank you so much for being with us here today. I can't believe that you gave us the time of day. We're always networking, reaching out, talking to other podcasters, not just looking for fans, but we do find it interesting talking to other podcasters and their journey and how far they've gone, and surpass us, or we leave you behind, or the journey alongside you. We'll be rooting for you, man. Definitely. And the more swag you send us, just got to say that, the more, the stronger advertising campaign in North America we will start. But thank you so much for being on the show.